And we are now live running a mixed freight, as well as the GO train with the Bombardier bi-level cars. Also got this D&H Shark-Nose locomotive, and Chloe.
Hello.
Hopefully some people will join in here soon. Just going to quickly set it all to live chat. Haven't made any significant changes on the layout. Been away for a couple days. Me and Chloe were, well, actually up at her cottage.
Yes.
Driving snowmobiles and getting the old O-scale train running again, so that was fun. But I did get the N-scale layout over here, so there might be some videos about that in the near future. Stay tuned. But till then, I've got some trains running on the HO layout. Says we've already got 15 people in here. I'm not seeing any messages yet. Oh, there we go. A bunch of people joining in. Hi from Queensland, Australia.
Oh.
Is that a Rock Island engine? It's a Providence and Worcester locomotive. Tell Chloe I said hi. Oh, she's right here.
Hi.
Can you run some subway trains? I've got some subways, yeah. How was New Year's Day and how was New Year's Eve? New Year's Day was great. Up at Chloe's cottage, driving snowmobiles around and stuff. I brought my new snowmobile, the 582 up. Had a lot of fun with that. And on New Year's Day, we went up to the farm. It was pretty chill. I mean, played Monopoly with people and stuff. It was a good New Year's. SMT, what would you think of switching from HO scale to N scale? I'm seriously thinking about it due to limited space in my house. I want to know the pros and the cons. I'm a careful guy. I respect that. Yeah, I get it. If you're limited on space, N-scale definitely has its pros. I mean, you know, you can pretty much build like double the amount of stuff. Like a 4x8 in N-scale is absolutely massive. So you have that going for you. And I feel like N-scale is a pretty good scale. I don't want to hate on Z-scale or smaller scales, but the thing about N-scale is that it's been around for a long time. So there's a lot of, you know, equipment available, and there's a lot of manufacturers that make products both in HO and in N-scale. And if you want to sell off your HO stuff to buy N-scale, there's a large market for HO. So yeah, if you're really crunched on space, N-scale might be a good choice. What I would probably do though before you go switching is get an N-scale starter set and just make sure you like it, because personally I prefer HO just because it's a bit easier to work on. But get a feel for it. I know some people that love N-scale with a passion, and I think that there are a lot of valid reasons for that. So, I don't know. Just get a feel for it before you jump in fully. You know, put your foot in the water, test the temperature out, and if you like it, sell your HO stuff and buy N-scale. Do you know if Bachmann's driver wheel problem is on their steam engine is a common thing? It is on a lot of models, I think. It is on their older ones. I don't know as much about their newer ones. I have some modern Bachmann engines which haven't had that issue, but I know on their Chinese models that has been a problem. If you get an N-scale starter set, please try Kato. You will not regret it. N-scale people and Kato seem to go together like bread and butter. I don't know what it is about the two brands, but like Kato and HO definitely has a good reputation, but the N-scale community seems to really just love them with a passion. Can you run an SW1500? I'll see if I can find one. Want to take over the camera while I go look for that, Chloe?
Sure. Does N-scale make replacement parts for N-scale box cars? Question mark.
Depends on the brand, but you can definitely get replacement couplers for N-scale regardless of the brand, if that's what you're wondering. Anyway, I found this engine. I don't know if it's a SW1500 or 1200, but we're gonna run it.
Why are you at cars to the blue locomotive?
They can't handle the radiuses of curves. This is
Oh.
a streetcar line. You're not even supposed to run a full-scale locomotive. The Roco engine is just really good at it.
How are you enjoying your new house?
I love it. It's not a perfect place, but it's my own, and you know what? It's holding its own. I left it for a couple days to go out to the cottage,
Yeah,
and the heater
it was
worked.
great.
Nothing froze off. I came back. Everything was in good shape. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Tyler says, how do I start in the HO scale hobby?
Get yourself a starter set, a cheap Bachmann one even. Bachmann's not my favorite brand, but even a cheap set will get you started. Don't stick with the starter set for long. A loop of track, I find, will get boring very fast. But yeah, get yourself a starter set, just get a feel for it, and then immediately once you're like, okay, this is what model railroading's about, move on from there as fast as you can and start building a layout. Don't hesitate. I find a lot of people get overwhelmed by, like, how am I going to figure out the hobby? You're not going to be able to figure out the hobby any quicker than by getting into it. So getting a starter set will get you into it, and then once you're into it, take some risks and just start messing around with it. You'll figure it out and you'll have a lot of fun.
Hi, James. When are you going to add your new part of your layout yet?
This thing is struggling. I'm not sure. I'm hoping,
Soonish?
yeah, at some point early this year to add the extension on, and I also really want to add the wall section on right here. I'll probably throw some fresh paint on this wall because it looks a little bit bad from the previous owners, but yeah, well, I'll find the studs in the wall. We'll add some framing. We'll add some sort of a layout, like, you know, some sort of a platform, link that back around there, and I think it's going to work well. What's the best way to expand an HO layout? I mean, it depends on what you already have, but I think track is probably a good way to go forward just because you can have more area to run stuff. But it depends on what your goals are. There's a lot of people that really like, you know, switching stuff up at buildings. So for some people, it might be adding a roundhouse or a factory or something like that. But to me, track should always be a priority. Harrison, do you have a true line steamer that does not work great? Is it a Berkshire? I have a True Line's engine. I think it runs okay, though. It has some derailing issues, but other than that, it's been fine. I actually bought it because everybody said it had problems. They said that every, like, True Line's engine has had issues. And, of course, the one I buy to have problems is okay. But I've heard some bad stories about them. What track do you have on the layout? It's mostly Atlas or Pico Code 100, all nickel silver. Sometimes for off sections of track I'll use brass, but everything's Code 100. You don't have to use Code 100 if you want to run modern equipment, but for older equipment, Code 100 is a good choice, just because it will kind of tolerate anything. Flex Seal is a new product for the family products of Flex Seal. I've used Flex Seal before. It is a good product. Do you have a Union Pacific 2007? If so, can you run it? Let me check. I might. I don't think I have it here, but I do have a Union Pacific 2007. I'm pretty sure it's a lifelike product. What are the dimensions of the new layout? Currently, it's a 4x10. I'm probably going to expand it out to a 4x16. What glue do you recommend for buildings in HO? I just use Gorilla Crazy Glue. I need help getting into the right O-scale Lionel train. I'm not as knowledgeable on O-scale stuff, but if you're willing to buy used, I really recommend post-war Lionel, which is, I think 1949 to 1969, if I'm not mistaken. It's post-war. But very high-quality stuff, and you can buy it super cheap. Ask Harrison if the locomotive is a Berkshire. I don't know if it is a Berkshire, James. Even have track and Atlas, Lifelike, Bachman, Snaptrack, Nickel, Silver, and Brass track, assortment, turnouts. Yeah, well, if it's all code 100, it will all work together. Are you familiar with Aristo? Like Aristocraft? I've heard of Aristocraft. I haven't worked with much of their stuff. Thanks for your video. I got back into watching your videos. I visited the Larkspur. It was fun. I'm sure they appreciated it. Great guys up there. Cameron and yeah, all the crew up there. Great people. You have a USA Tour Flying Scotsman. I have a Flying Scotsman, but not the one they used for the USA Tour. You still have your Western and Maryland BL2. I have it. I don't think I have it at this house. It's probably still back at my parents', but I haven't gotten rid of it. Do you have any Atlas engines? What's your opinion on them? Atlas is not a super common manufacturer for locomotives, but every Atlas engine I've ever had has been great. I've got some old Atlas engines. They've been very reliable, and their new stuff has also been just as reliable. So I would say, like, if you're looking for something in particular, they might not have it because the range isn't that big, but the products they do have are good. Have you ever seen 2860 in person? I can't say I have. Love your videos. Your grandmother's such a sweetheart. You're very lucky, dude. Keep it up. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's crazy that my grandmother, I don't know, of all people, would have model trains as a kid and carry them through the family for so long. I feel like a lot of people would have just thrown out the things that she had, but she held on to them. And I don't know, it's weird how life works out like that. Like, I don't know. You get these trains as a kid and you hold on to them, and then your grandson ends up getting into model trains, specifically into repairing them, and then is able to resource the parts and get them running again. It's weird how things can just come full circle like that. It was a destiny. Apparently so. Somebody said there was a super chat. Let me look for that. Oh, here it is. Minty Shenani. I don't think I've seen that channel. Do you have any Thomas Friends stuff? I don't have any Thomas Friends HO trains. I watched the show as a kid. I absolutely loved it, but I just really don't feel the need to add any of it to my collection. Could you please run a Lionel locomotive? Yeah, I can throw one on. We'll get the Polar Express pulling the freight train. Hey Harrison, I have a guilty pleasure for Tyco power torques, like the C430. Well, it doesn't have to be a guilty pleasure. I mean, I know the very prestige modelers out there, power torques are not great models, and from a reliability standpoint, they're definitely not. But in general, I love the old Tycos. You know, they're not reliable engines, but they're easy to work on. They're really cheap to buy. And who makes anything cooler than the Century 630 Golden Eagle?
Robin Train says my granddaughter is becoming a big MRR fan.
That's awesome. I feel like, I don't know, if you're around some model trains when you're young, you're probably going to carry that through for life. I mean, I think the same could be said even like, you know, I was saying earlier in the live stream that Chloe's family had a train set. They hadn't brought it out in 15 plus years. Mm-hmm. And the reactions from people who had it, you know, when you were a kid or when, you know, your grandmother was younger and stuff, it was all nostalgia. But there were a ton of kids around there, and you could see they were just in awe of the train set. And you know what? They're going to have the same experience as you and everybody else because they have now grown up with that, and it's going to stick with them.
Yeah.
Like, I think the entire reason I'm into trains is because when I was a kid, we had the Wakefield train, which went past my granddad's house. And every weekend, you know, my dad would drive up there, and my granddad and him would drink coffee, and then we'd go see the train. It was a live steam locomotive. And I think growing up with that is why I'm into trains, and I think youngsters today, if they're growing up around model trains or real trains, they're going to develop an interest in it. I'm a fan of the channel. Being a Milwaukee Road fan, I love your Hiawatha you got from your grandmother. It's my favorite of all stuff. Well, the Milwaukee Road is a legendary railroad. They really had some great equipment, but yeah, the Hiawatha, the original Hiawatha especially, has a special place in my heart. I really hope, and I don't know if I'm ever going to see this in my lifetime, but just like the T1 Trust, they rebuild one. I'd be over the moon if they built a Hiawatha today. Seems like the Lionel is struggling a little bit.
Well,
what did you use to make the mountain in the middle? This is a Woodland Scenics set. You can buy them for, I think, $30 or something. Oh, yeah, you almost got it there, Chloe. I'm going to give it full power. We'll see if that gets it going. Okay, full power, full jam.
okay, there you go.
Turn it down a little bit there. What type of go-cars are they? They're Bombardier bi-levels. I think they still use a lot of these in Toronto and other parts of the world. I know in Texas they have the same type of cars. Very reliable, great type of car by Bombardier. Chloe's asking if I got you anything cool for Christmas.
Yes, I got some clothes. I got a really nice jewelry organizer. Is that how you call it?
Yeah, jewelry box.
Yeah. It was really nice. What else did I get? Hold on.
Some bonbons.
Yes, I did see some candies. All nice things. Very cool stuff.
And James is saying, hit the like button. Here Rapido is bringing out the single level go-cars for the GP40 TS and the GP40 MS. Huh. Why don't you ever run the Go Transit F40? Well, we can try. Just need to find the right car because these have knuckle couplers, and I think the F40 has horn hooks or something. I don't know.
How's Chloe enjoying the new house? I love it. It's great.
Chloe's being very patient with the new house. It's not the most beautiful place, but
I don't care.
I appreciate it.
Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year. It'll become beautiful as time goes on, and it'll be by your hands that it becomes that way, which makes it all better. Yeah, exactly.
So I found the locomotive. I just need to find the right car to actually connect it to the rest of the train.
Whoop. A big boy. Yeah, probably after that one. Somebody's asking if you can run a big boy.
Yeah, I can do that.
Where did it go? To get some trains.
Looking for the car that has a fork hook coupler on one side and a knuckle coupler on the other. I don't know where I put it. I'm really good at losing things down here. Could be behind here. Well, lo and behold.
Oh, there you go. Or can you ask Santi what happened to the track of the Wakefield train? I see on Google Maps there's just a water tower.
Okay, so the Wakefield train had 3 sections of track. One was in Gatineau, the other was in Chelsea, and the other was in Wakefield. Hence the name Wakefield train. Gatineau still has its track, although they ripped out the track around the crossings. That sounds derailed.
I was gonna say. Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna stop that. Yeah, Wakefield still has its tracks, but Gatineau has ripped it out around the crossings, and Chelsea has completely removed their tracks. They had a really bad washout in 2011, which basically ended the line. So a lot of the track is, still around, but it's not, you couldn't run a train on it anymore. Coupler on this is not in great shape. Let's see, will it work? Yeah, sure.
What's your favorite model train?
Riverossi Hiawatha.
Oh, it's going too fast. So happy to be in the new house watching trains with you, Harrison.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. What's your opinion on Rapido? I just got my first one underway, under MSRP with Lockdown 5. I think Rapidos are decent. I think their newer stuff is a lot better than their original models just because they've had more time to perfect it. I don't have negative opinions on Rapido, but some of their older stuff definitely does have some motor issues, but Any Rapido engine I've bought brand new has been perfectly reliable. You still have the Varney Yellowstone. Can you do a size comparison with the big boy? I still have the Yellowstone, but I don't have it right here. It's still at my parents' house. But I can tell you it's pretty similarly sized to the big boy. I think the big boy is slightly larger, but not by a long shot. What are your thoughts on Easy Track? It's okay for like a beginner layout or something like that, but in the long run, I wouldn't use it to build a full-fledged layout. Check online for Rapido updates. Not everything they have is 100% perfect. I mean, maybe they aren't. I'm just saying that the stuff I personally have hasn't given me any issues. Some of the stuff from their mystery box is a little bit finicky, but it hasn't failed. I got the Hornby Rivarossi Big Boy from the factory with weathering. Who designed the pickup for that thing is pretty awful. Well, the ones on this unit are not great either. This was a genuine Rivarossi model, but it was a late Rivarossi model, so from the early 90s. And the contacts are bad, so I actually wired them through to the tender. What's your favorite Flex Track brand? It's Atlas. Atlas Code 100. Uh-oh, I think there's a derailment. Let's see if it derails itself. Nope. I'll have to re-rail that on the straight section. Oh. Derailment in transit. Yeah, that's no good. What's the music playing in the background? It's called Freedom Flight Main. You know, if brass HO locomotives run really well and are easy to work with, I have one that is possibly I'm going to get soon. I'd like to ask because I don't usually work with them much. Brass is finicky. I have some brass engines that were really well made and they haven't given me any trouble, but some other ones which were not made perfectly have issues, and a lot of brass stuff is older, so I would not expect reliability from it. They're beautiful. Like, there's some brass models out there which are, you know, the greatest detail on the planet, but, you know, are they the most reliable out there? Probably not. I'd be willing to work on it. Could you run 1206 or 777? Yeah, we could probably do that. It's crazy how spiders keep getting their eggs into model train motors, referring to the Athearn E9. The spider laid its eggs in. I've had several old locomotives have spider eggs or dead spiders in them, and I think the reason is that the spiders, they like to find like kind of places to hide, and a model locomotive has little crevices, so I think that's why they find their way inside them. Keep a lot of electrical tape handy for working on brass models to test for shorts literally in every part of the locomotive and tender. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, not just for brass, but also for die-cast locomotives. Like, when the entire engine is conductive, there's a lot of opportunities for short circuits, but even beyond short circuits, I just find older brass locomotives are just prone to issues where the drivers lock up or, things seize because they're oxidized. Like, they need a lot of attention. Again, I have a few brass engines which have never given me any trouble, but it's not the rule.
Whoops.
I don't know why that happened. Something caught. Maybe it was that. Let's see if I back it up with a little...
Back it up.
See if it'll latch back on. Nope. I think we might have gotten it.
Ah. Wait, the
couplers might not be aligned.
I don't think it's aligned. There you go.
Get 777 on for whoever requested it. Weird. Second time.
Again?
Well, I'm just gonna pull those cars off. The bi-levels have always been good cars in terms of the wheels being able to handle corners, but for whatever reason, the couplers, no matter what kind of couplers I put on these things, they just don't seem to work that great. But something's wrong with the coupler. It could be, but it's also derailing the cars, so I don't know. What go cars? They're Atherns. Run it fast. Oh, this one's derailed too. I don't think it's a track issue, because like for the first half hour of this live stream, it hasn't had any derailing issues in that corner, so unless there's like a temperature change or something, that should not be the issue.
Oh.
Multi-track drifting.
Are you sure it's not coupler ice?
Well, it could be, but again, the first half hour of the live stream, it wasn't having issues in that corner, so I don't know what's going on. You still have the Royal Hudson? I'd have it here, yeah. I definitely still own it. I just don't know if it's here at my parents'. Pretty sure it's here. I'll have a look.
What power do you what power supply do you use for lights on the layout?
I use a 5 amp 12 volt power supply. I don't remember what brand, but all the lights in my buildings are actually automotive lights. So these are courtesy lights. It's the same stuff you put in your car. They're LEDs, and you can buy these in large lots, very cheap. They're 12 volt bulbs, and I find they work pretty well for lighting up buildings. They're a lot cheaper than any manufacturer's lights, and they point every direction, so they'll light up the entire building. And again, if you combine them with a 12 volt 5 amp power supply, you can pretty much light up whatever you want, and it's not going to have a problem. When are we going to hear the news about the Christmas competition? Sorry if you explained it before, I wasn't here. I haven't tallied up the votes yet, but I probably will in the next 2 or so days, and we'll find out who won. It's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of good entries this year, I tell you what. Did you know there's a smaller scale than Z scale? It's called T scale. Yeah, I have heard of T scale. If it's not here, it's probably at your parents' house. I think so. I had a quick look just a second ago and I don't see it, so must be over there. If your favorite model train is a Rivarossi Hiawatha, then why is your profile picture a daylight? If you have a daily, can you run it? I really like the 4449, and I do have several of them. We'll see if the one I have will run. The brass one I have is still over at my parents' house, but I'll try to run my Bachmann model. We'll see what happens. But yeah, for anybody who wonders why my profile is 4449, it's because I actually got that, well, it was already in running order before I got the Hiawatha fully running, so. Any recommendations for a power meter? Let me see if I can find my multimeter.
Okay, Harrison, is there any chance you'll do the Bachmann starter set reviews again? I really like those type of videos.
Yeah, there'll definitely be more starter set reviews. Whatever one is cheapest, basically. I really like the cheap Bachmann starter sets. I'm not too fond of the expensive ones, but the budget ones, there'll be more of that. As for the person asking what multimeter I have, I'm not sponsored or anything by this company, but it's an Astro AI DM130B. And this thing has been solid. I haven't had any problems with it. You don't have to set it to the correct specifications for what you're testing. On some multimeters, there's a lot more settings. This one sorts things out automatically. And it's a very helpful tool. I think that this one was 30 bucks. Not too expensive. Definitely something you want if you're going to work on a lot of model trains. My layout is wired to a DCC Specialist RM amp meter. I don't think I've seen one specific to model railroading other than the one I have for my DC controller, but yeah, Chris, if you have one for DCC, please share it. I would love to look at that. You show the grass spots in the center of the track. Well, if you're talking about this section right here, yeah, I grassed over the trolley line, which I think looks kind of nice. Harrison, I should show you my multimeter. Well, I'm sure it's a fancier unit than this thing. Like, this was pretty cheap, but again, it's been a solid unit. When's your next unboxing video going to be? I've already started filming one. I'm hoping to get it up within the next few days. I wanted an amperage reading for my layout. I bought a cheap LCD amp meter module from Amazon and added it to my power supply. Well, it's a helpful thing to have. I had always thought that if you wanted to add an amp meter, it was dependent on the direction of current, which if you're working with DCC is a little bit finicky because the power is flowing back and forth. It's borderline AC, like the current is technically DC squared, but it is alternating. And on DC, technically it alternates because if you switch the direction, the power flows the other direction. So if you're running it one way, maybe your amp meter will work, but on the other direction it won't work. So I'd always believed that if you wanted to wire up an amp meter to your layout, you needed to wire it up before a double pole, double throw switch, which reverses the direction. I could be wrong about that, but I always believed that was the case. Do you think the government of Gatineau has completely forgotten about the presence of 909 and 244 in the shed by now? No, I don't think so. It's definitely not like top of their priority. But I know some people, I'm not going to name any names because I'm not even really supposed to know about this, but I know some people who are in the rail restoration business, and they've heard some stories about that recently. So the city really does want those engines off their books. Whether or not they're going to find a museum or a buyer, I think is highly unlikely, but we'll see what happens. You are correct. To wire up the volt amp meter, it needs to be before the change to the direction switch. Okay, that's what I thought. I'm glad to hear that. What's your opinion on Lionel HO scale trains? Some of their older stuff, like their original stuff from the 50s and their Rivarossi rebranded stuff is great. Even their later stuff from the 70s, like some of their Michigan-made stuff is pretty good in my opinion. The modern stuff that they have and the Kadar stuff that they have is kind of garbage. The Kadar stuff is basically first-gen Bachmann, and their modern stuff, I don't think it's as bad as the Kadar stuff, but it's so highly priced, and I just don't feel like it's, you know, that great a value for your money. Like, I like my Polar Express, but you know, all the other engines I'm running on here are not struggling. That Polar Express was struggling, so I really don't think the electrical systems they put in those things are good. We use a DCC amp volt digital meter at my club on the track leading from the staging area. It shows the track voltage in the amp draw. Huh. I picked up a tech controller like yours a couple of years ago. Oh, somebody deleted that comment for some reason. My grandfather and I love your videos. We're currently looking for a motor for his DCC switcher. Oh, best of luck in that. Do you have any railroad artwork? I have some, but it's not here. Is there going to be a new video? Yeah, I'm working on a video right now. There's one in the production line. I still think Expo Rail is a good place for them to go. It's not likely that the HCW train is coming back, and they're literally 2 hours away by road. I would prefer it going to Expo Rail than going to scrap, obviously. I really think the best thing would be if they shipped both those locomotives to Wakefield because they still have enough trackage to run them up there. But if it's between that and those engines going to scrap, 100%, Expo Rail would be a good choice in the sense that they have, you know, the right talent to actually work on a steam locomotive and work on that diesel. I wouldn't be worried about them going to waste at Expo Rail. Whether or not Expo Rail would actually want them, I don't know, because, again, A lot of museums these days are really pressed for space, and a couple of Swedish locomotives are not actually like top of the line in terms of, you know, Canadian heritage, but whatever the case, all I hope is that they don't go to scrap. And let's see here. Andrew Bell, thank you so much for joining the Well Folks Club. Picked up a tech controller like yours a couple of years ago. It needs a new directional switch in it. I haven't had to replace it yet. I only gave $70. I thought it was a good buy. I would say so. I think I paid $120 for this. It was in brand new condition. It just had never been opened. But yeah, if you can buy these things for like under $100, I've seen some for as low as like $30. I feel like it's a good deal. These are great DC controllers. Do you have the Grey Goose in there? I don't think I have a Grey Goose. I do have a Blue Goose. Why don't you run trains in opposite directions of each other? I'm not against it. We could definitely do that. Throw the freight train on the other direction. What make is the blue switcher? It's a Athearn. I use the NCC DCC power cab. Have you considered testing and buying one? I love mine. I haven't worked with a power cab personally on this layout. One of my model train clubs have some, and I find they're okay. Personally, I don't have a huge opinion between them and Digitrax. The only thing I will say is I did run a poll between Digitrax and NCE, and Digitrax flew NCE out of the water. I'm not saying NCE is a bad controller, but again, just based off that poll, it does seem like Digitrax is the more popular power supply.
Have you found it fairly easy reprogramming decoders using your DCS50?
For most things it has been. The only thing I don't like is that you actually have to set up a test track. I don't know if you have to do that with NCE, but on this guy you have to hook up a separate track. Looks like we've got a derailment over there. Yeah, generally it hasn't been too bad. The only issue I had was one of the older, I think it was a Broadway Limited engine, which had one of those double decoders. That thing had some issues. But I'm not sure if that was an issue necessarily with the DCS or just with that decoder system. I don't know why this derailed. The Blue Line BLI, that's the exact one. Every time the camera pans past the super chief, it makes me laugh. It's the best, worst thing you've ever done. Yeah, it is a legend. I love this thing. I know it's a piece of junk, but every time I brought this to the train club, the amount of like double takes there is, it's hilarious. Second time this thing's derailed. I guess it's time to throw another engine on. I have a Blue Line PRRT1. It's been super reliable. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Can't say the one I had. It hasn't been unreliable from a running standpoint. It's just the sound and programming stand. Like, if you want to program a number or program any sound on it, it's a nightmare. What does everybody want to see pull the freight train next? First request, we'll get it here. What's your opinion on Bachmann Easy Track? It's okay. As I was saying earlier, like for a beginner layout, it's okay, but I wouldn't expand much with it. I use NCE and I use a test track. Okay. True line trains. Okay, we'll try to run it. Last time this thing was having derailing issues, but here we go again. Best place to get bands for Athearn band drive locomotives? I don't know, to be honest. My hobby shop has always supplied them, but I don't know if they're genuinely from Athearn or if they just know a similar size of band to buy. It didn't even couple up. Let's try it again. There we go. I bet that got it. What's the radius of curves on your layout? They're 22 on the main line. Would you do another stream with RBP trains? Yeah, I don't see why not. You did a live stream with RBP trains when? I think it was last fall. It was highly requested. A lot of people wanted us to do some sort of a collaboration, so we did a live stream together, and he would run out like an O-scale version of whatever HO train I was running. It was fun. When is your next video? I think it's probably going to be out within the next couple days. It's already in production. Hope that sound. Yeah, I do too. Have you figured out what power supply the suspicious AB sets use? I can't remember the name, but it's kind of like pre-DCC. It was a form of digital control. I think it was radio controlled, so the engine would get power and then you had some sort of a radio system to connect to it. I haven't figured out what kind of power system you would actually use with that, so I'm gonna continue looking. I'm hoping that there's some guy out there who still has one of these power systems, but my guess is that it was all homemade, and that the only way I'm gonna get it to work is if I had enough knowledge on radio-controlled trains, which I don't, so I don't know. Yeah, I posted it on some model railroading forum, and a lot of guys were saying, oh, that system dates back to like the late 70s or early 80s, so a long ways before DCC. Would you ever take a visit to the world-famous Horseshoe Curve in Pennsylvania? They're talking about bringing 4014 through there on the Pittsburgh line this year. I mean, that might be a good opportunity. I've always wanted to see Horseshoe Curve. I don't know how far I even live from Horseshoe Curve. It's probably not that bad. I bet it's like maybe a 6-hour drive, so it's definitely doable. I don't know, we'll see. I have 2 True Line trains, Northerns as well. I think the front truck needs a bit of weight if I remember correctly. I think it's my track. I think that curve's a little bit warped right there. Because generally that thing has actually been pretty good for staying on the track. But yeah, I mean, any modern engine is pretty picky. Can we see Nerf Cat? He's not around anymore. Bless his soul. He's moved on to a better place. DC uses a different power supply than DCC. They're 2 different systems. If you want sound and independent control of locomotives, you should pick DCC. If 4014 comes to Horseshoe Curve, I'm definitely going. I visited there the first time in June. It's so neat. I went to Larkspur yesterday, their Boxing Week sale. I got some bargains, including a sweet GP7 from Great Northern. I think there's another part of that comment. Is the GO train in revenue service? I think so. We had 4 cars on earlier. We're down to 2 because one of them kept derailing, but these other 2, they're solid. You still have your grandmother's Hiawatha steam locomotive. I wouldn't get rid of that, really, under any circumstances. It's not over here at my new house yet, but I still have it, that's for sure. Colby's Project Bin, welcome. Can you run a subway train? I did say I was going to run one of those earlier. Maybe I should throw that on the inside circuit. We'll go from GO Transit to MBTA. It'd be funny seeing a subway run on the streetcar track. I think I've tried to run it through this curve, and the locomotive can handle it, but not the cars. I'm sure I could modify them to do it, but at the moment it doesn't work. What's the locomotive radio? I bought a couple of locomotives, I'd say about a year ago. Some people remember this video, but they have some sort of digital control system on board, but it is not DCC, so I think it's radio controlled. I can try to find the engines so people can have a look at them right now, but yeah, if you watch that video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Did you ever make a subway system underneath the layout? I'm not against it, that's for sure. Yeah, let me see if I can go find one of these radio-controlled engines, though. Whoop. There we go. Love the AC/DC poster in the background. Well, maybe you already know this, but this came with the house. Like, at one point I had to pull up a few ceiling tiles, and I found this in the ceiling. This was definitely a boy's room, because right here was actually like a wall, and as I've been digging through the ceiling, I found the AC/DC poster. I found a greasy old beer can, some letters, and a whole bunch of love notes written on the bottom of one of the ceiling tiles to a girl named Sarah. The story never ended, so I don't know what happened with Sarah, but yeah, it's funny kind of digging up history of this house just by finding things down here. And that was part of it, so to pay honor to the house, I thought it'd be cool to throw that up. Plus, I'm also a pretty big fan of AC/DC, so why not have Angus Young on the wall? I went to Zetnik Trains, realizing they were close. I got an MTH GG1 and HO scale with proto sound for only 150 US. I was very impressed when I went to Zetnik Trains. Their prices were good. The selection was great. They were super friendly. Definitely a good store. If you're ever in Florida, check them out. Odd stuff seems to hide in the ceilings. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. If it was a teenager living down here, I think it's like, oh, crap, my dad's coming down here. Better hide some stuff in the ceiling. Any girly? No, no Playboys in the ceiling, just the AC/DC poster. Have you ever heard the song Rock and Roll Train by AC/DC? Yeah, I have. It's a good song. I also like Thunderstruck and Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. They made a lot of great music. Can you run the switcher and a train on the main track just to make sure the two tracks are electrically isolated and you have a controller for each locomotive? Well, the inside track and the secondary track, these are both on the same line. So like if I do this, you see the subway train and the other one both stop at the train on the main line, keep going. But if I want to run a train from this line, like this one to this one, I just need to switch it to this, which will just run the same power as whatever this side is using. I saw AC/DC on my 18th birthday in 1987. That must have been awesome. The other day we found a pair of New Year's glasses from 2004 in the ceiling at work. Well, I hope you put those on for New Year's 2026. I feel like that would be pretty funny. Glasses could only be good in the 2000s though, because you had the two zeros in the middle. It's perfect for making lenses. In an upper class society. I'm not going to name the name of that song, but I get the reference. You have one throttle. It controls speed for both locomotives at the same time. If you want independent control, you need 2 controllers. Well, if I wanted to independently control the inside circuit and the outside one, yeah, you're correct. Eventually, I probably will end up doing that, but at the moment, it's just easier to run them both off the same circuit. How many locomotives do you have in your collection? I've lost count. I have about 500 locomotives in the collection. $500, that's it. I've tried to limit it to 400. Well, 500, 400. At 400, I started dialing back a little bit. I mean, 500 is still an absurd amount of locomotives, but I think if people watched all the unboxing videos, they would probably think the number is higher. But I have given a lot of them away. At a lot of train shows, I do a lot of giveaways. Does Chloe approve of all your locomotives? My mother gets upset with my 20. No, she's pretty supportive of it. It's also currently my house, so you know, I can stuff this place with as many locomotives as I want. I don't really want to go above the 500 limit, just because, I don't know, I feel like there's probably people out there who could use a lot of duplicate locomotives better than I could, so that's why I do some giveaways at train shows. But yeah, there's plenty of junky engines out there I'd love to add to my collection, so we'll see. Do you have a booth at train shows you attend? Usually I have a friend or somebody who opens a booth at the train shows and they have extra space, and so I just buy some of the space off them. But I don't know, there have also been some train shows where I've just said, hey, this is the situation, I've got some engines I'd like to give away to people, I'm not looking to make money or anything like that, and they've just given me a table. Especially if a train show is under, like, they don't have their target in terms of vendors, they'll usually just let you do that. I decided that 100 engines was far too many given the space restraints I have. I've got to cycle through units at this point. Yeah, and that's sort of like the state that I'm in. Like, I don't know, if I buy another CNF unit in a lot or something, I'll usually just give it away. And the reason for that is because I already have like 5 of them, so I just don't really have a use for it. But for other engines, like, I don't know, there's some engines I work on, and even if they're not that valuable, like, I don't know, like this thing. Total junk. But I put a lot of heart and soul into it, and so I like this engine. I'm not going to give it away. But for engines that don't really mean anything to me, it's like, why not give them away to somebody else? And especially, like, I don't know, kids and stuff who maybe can't afford the hobby, that can mean a lot to them. Sometimes I leave stuff in boxes at train shows with a free sign on it. Yeah, that's just it. Do you still have the tea kettle that does wheelies on the track? I don't know if I've brought it over yet, but yeah, I definitely still have that. Let me have a look. I might have brought it over. Yes, I did. Wheelie time. No, it doesn't want to start. Uh-oh. Crap. Yeah. Oh, I love this thing. I'm the guy who takes the free stuff and repairs it, thanks. Well, it's no problem. It's really kind of you to give away some of your engines. Well, people send a lot of stuff into the channel, like as donations and stuff, and so it's like if I'm buying stuff and I have extra stuff to give away, so stuff that, you know, like giving away stuff that might mean something to somebody, I just feel like it's kind of paying it forward, you know? It's a give and take sort of thing. Tea kettle down, yeah. Let's see if we can get this thing to consistently stay on the track. Oh man. I feel like if I added just a little bit more counterweight, we could get this thing to kind of consistently stay on the track a little bit more. That, or add like a wheelie cage and have a small set of wheels that goes on the back. And then when it tilts up, it could just ride on those like a performance car. I'm wondering if there's a way to make one of those little engines actually function well. Well, I removed a weight from this, that's why it's popping wheelies. If you have the front weight, these actually run okay. They're not high quality locomotives, don't get me wrong. They're notorious for stripping out gears and things like that, but they're really simple, so if you're willing to work on them, you can make them work decently. The best thing to do if you really wanted one of these to perform well would be to wire up a box car or something to power it. Run some little feeder wires into it because it doesn't have a tender. But I would only do that if you're really determined to make one of these run well. I'm also noticing this one right here has a bent rod, so we're going to bend that back into place. Which locomotive do you have? Would you think it's worth the most on the secondary market? Probably the brass stuff I buy. I have a brass GS4. I suspect I could get some good money for that if I really wanted to. Anything brass, frankly. You can have the worst brass locomotive on the planet, and people on eBay will pay an arm and a leg for it. And I know, because I'm usually the guy who is paying an arm and a leg for brass stuff, but it's crazy that the brass bug, once it bites people, it doesn't let go. I got mine. It really doesn't operate well, even with the weight. Try cleaning up all the contacts. It might get better. I threw an old model power chassis under my tea kettle, and it turned out great, and it looks great too. It's a little bit goofy. It probably needs a trailing truck. Well, it's not stupid if it works, right? I only have one brass locomotive, a KMT Hiawatha Milwaukee Road F7. Nice. What's the most baffling design you've ever seen? It wasn't even one of my engines. It was something that somebody sent me to repair. It was under a brand called HO Train. Didn't even have a brand. And it was really bad. Really bad. I wish I had the model here to show everybody, but it had so many problems, and a lot of the issues it had were just due to bad design. Like, I complain about Bachmann first gens, but frankly, it would make a Bachmann first gen look like a piece of art. I have a few Overland brass locomotives, a few other brands, but yeah, I've got a couple Overland models, and they're nice, but yeah, I don't know, they're expensive. Do you know anybody who makes new gears for old nylon pancake drives? I can't say I do, and I wouldn't say I would recommend even buying any off eBay, because there are these manufacturers right now that are making 3D printed parts. I don't want to hate on the 3D printed market, but like, For figures and buildings and things that don't have to move, they seem okay. But I will say for like 3D printed parts like gears and things like that, I've heard really bad things about them. And I've tried to 3D print some of my own parts and I've had mixed results in terms of reliability. So I think that 3D printing is going to get there in terms of making aftermarket parts, but I don't think it's there just yet. So my advice would be, if you need parts for something, buy a bunch of junky engines and steal the parts off them, because you're probably going to get better parts even if they're 30 years old. Just the fact that they were manufactured in better condition from the factory. Also, if you're talking about a Bachmann engine that has bad gears, like one of the diesels, they're so similar to lifelike engines of the same era, you can actually just steal parts off a lifelike and it will be a lot more reliable. How's the new layout coming along? Not too bad. I haven't made any significant expansions to it ever since the last video, but I'm hoping within the next few weeks to get the industrial section going again. And I'm also hoping to get some track along here. Also today I brought the N-scale layout over, so it's all starting to come together. It's a ways off, but we will get there. New gears from Northwest Shortline Direct is a lifetime warranties. You can get that way. I've never dealt with Northwest Shortline myself. I've heard mixed things. Some people seem to love them, but a couple people I've heard from who never got the parts, I don't know. You are correct. Printing gears that size is difficult to make good ones. I've had limited success. Yeah, I think the technology is just not there yet. I'm sure that after, 3D printers become more accurate and, I don't know, it just becomes easier to tell what kind of plastics you're supposed to be using with stuff, maybe the gears will get there, but I think right now they're no good. I've heard so many stories with the first-gen Bachmanns of people buying those gears and then having them break. Classic Model Trains did a good video on that, but I've also heard on some forums that that's happened. Been watching SMT Mainline for 5 years now. Well, thanks for sticking around so long. Wow, the couplers on this car are not good. What junk? What's going on here? Is it stuck? How did this get bent while I was driving it? That's weird. Well, I guess that's fine now. Northwest Shortline has been great for me as well. A lot of their stuff is just a bit pricey. I've probably placed around 10 to 15 orders without issues so far. That's good to hear. It's good to hear. It's just back when I was on the forums for fixing the River Rossi Hiawatha, there were some different thoughts on that, but I don't know. Maybe they've improved. Northwest Shortline is expensive, but do you want a box of parts or a working locomotive? None is just going to buy a box of junk. It's best to accept a loss and repair. Well, it depends, because a lot of people have, I don't know, I've gotten some comments on videos of repairs I've done. They're like, you didn't do a good job. You bought old parts, you salvaged parts off an engine, and, you didn't totally fix it. And if you're fixing a $200 locomotive, I agree. Put good parts into it. But if you're fixing a $5 Tyco or a $15 Athearn, to me it seems silly to be putting, $50 worth of parts into it, because, it's not just the cost of the parts, it's also the shipping and the taxes, blah, 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 blah. And once you add all that in, it's going to start to cost a whole lot more. So, if you can buy a junked engine at a train show for $5 and use those parts to get another $5 engine running, It's a lot better than spending $50 in parts because, yeah, you can run up the bill really fast looking for parts, even on eBay. Even if the parts are just $8 a unit, again, once you factor in shipping and taxes, you're going to be looking at a heck of a lot more. I think to get my grandmother's Atlantic, and this wasn't even the Rivarossi Atlantic, but her Italian Atlantic, to get that thing going, I think I spent 400 Canadian dollars, and I know a lot of people are going to say that's absurd, but in that case, it was worth it because it was a nostalgic locomotive, and those engines are also worth a lot monetarily, so it didn't matter. I was willing to dump that kind of money into it, but for a lot of locomotives, that would be kind of silly. I agree, SMT depends on what you're repairing. In my case, it was a brass locomotive. Yeah, so if it's a brass engine, I completely agree. You know, don't skip steps, but yeah, for junky engines, don't dump money in. The only exception, like if you have an engine that you care about, like you've had it since your childhood or something, and it's more of like a nostalgia thing rather than a money thing, dump as much money as you want into it. But all I'm saying is that if you pick up an engine from a train show that means nothing to you, don't put a lot of money into it because it's never going to be worth it. My CSX locomotive makes noise when I use my Bachmann DCC Plus controller. Do you know why it makes noise? Well, if it's a DC engine and you're putting it on DCC, that's completely normal. It's just the frequency of DCC, because DCC is DC squared. It's not the same as regular DC power. So you can run a DC engine on DCC, but it will make a funny noise while you're running it. What HO scale brand of diesel can pull the longest train? I would probably say scale trains, if I were to just take a guess. Put your posts in the comments for what engines have the best pulling capacity, but just off a guess, it would be scale trains. Can you review the Bachmann Rail Chief? I wanted to get it, but I don't see any reviews on it. Okay, I never did a review on the Bachmann Rail Chief because I got it way before I was on YouTube. I can say after having that set for 15 years this year, I can't believe it's been that long, but after 15 years, it's an okay set. I think it's overpriced for the quality, but the engine is still running and the cars are still around and stuff. So if you really want one, you know, it will be fine, but it's not the highest quality set, that's for sure. I'd bet on Acura scale diesels. Those things are bricks. Scale trains simply because they're heavier than everything out there. That's what I'm betting on, is the power to weight ratio. I found my Bachmann FA2's shockingly high-end brass diesels are the best pullers. Yeah, maybe some die-cast stuff might... I don't know. One of these days I should do a tug-of-war between a scale trains engine and a brass engine. I don't really want to do that because I'd hate to break one or the other, but at the same time, too, we would find out. I mean, the advantage that brass and die-cast engines have is that all the parts are made out of metal, so every part is adding weight to the engine. At the same time, the scale trains engines are very well weighted, even though they have plastic parts, so it's hard to say. I find the Athearn Blue Boxes are actually pretty good pullers. The weight is decent, but one advantage that the old Athearns have is they have steel wheels, which are more abrasive than nickel silver, so they have a tendency to be pretty strong. Ron has those stump pullers, as he calls them. He's been working on one for a while. I'd say whatever those are, they're crazy heavy. They're probably old die-cast stuff. I just got the Rail Chief for Christmas. I'm just getting started with my layout. I grabbed extra track with some switches. Going to be fun. That's all that matters. That's how I got my Rail Chief. It was for Christmas, and I did have a lot of fun with that set. It did work really well for what it was at the time. My Bachmann FA2s can pull all my Genesis units. It's crazy. I'm pretty surprised to hear that for a Bachmann, honestly. The FA2s are pretty bulky locomotives, though, so it might just be the fact that most of the body is metal. Because even Bachmann engines, a lot of the unit is made out of metal. Run some BNSF, yeah, sure. I ordered some 33 wheel sets and magnetic couplers to upgrade all my Railchief stock. It should make for some needed updates. Yeah, I feel like those are great choices. It'd be funny if you got a hold of a Parisian metro train. I've been on the Paris metro before. It was pretty cool. The only thing that really freaked me out is I didn't realize that some of the Paris metro ran on trains with tires. And I was really sick with a cold when I was visiting Paris, and I was running a bad fever, and I was trying to go back to the hotel with my dad. I was like 12 at the time, and I just all of a sudden see this train pulling up on tires. I didn't know those existed at the time, and I was so out of it. I was just like, what is going on? But yeah, I did like the Paris metro. The stations are gorgeous. Do not buy a starter set. You're certainly being ripped off. Most of your PC buy from time to time train shows and swap meets. Well, I get what you're saying here, Chris, but at the same time, too, a starter set, if you've never been into model railroading, is still a great way to start, just because, like, if you have knowledge on the hobby and you know what to look for at a train show and where to find a train show and all that jazz, it's great. You can save a lot of money, but in terms of just getting into the hobby, without the knowledge of being in the hobby for 15 years, starter sets are pretty good, and they're definitely a better value for your money than buying a la carte. Like, if you wanted to buy all the contents of a Bachmann starter set from Bachmann, you'd probably be spending, I would say, at least another third of the money, maybe double the amount. It's pretty crazy, like, just how much cheaper starter sets are than buying things individually. Like, if you want to buy a Bachmann engine, it's going to be like $100. You can buy some Bachmann train sets for about 120, so it's not horrible in my opinion when you factor in the controller, the track, and everything. I'm by no means a Bachmann fanboy, but it does have that going for it. Fair enough. If you're just getting started, I feel like it's decent. What would be best out there is if you're a beginner, if you can find somebody who knows a bit about model trains to guide you into the hobby, be a model railroading Sherpa. I feel like that's never a bad thing, but it all depends on your area, because I'm always recommending train shows. I feel like they're one of the best ways to get stuff cheap, but you have to kind of be on the loop. I mean, I've been in the hobby for almost 20 years, and a lot of the train shows that I know about in my area, I find out about through friends who are part of train clubs. It's not even like they're that well advertised, so even somebody like me who's been in the hobby for a while, you know, it's not always straightforward to find out where the good deals are. Is there a brand of model train that you would not touch, and why? If you're looking for reliability, don't buy Tyco stuff. I love Tyco. I think that they're a lot of fun, but if you want stuff that's going to start every single time, I wouldn't buy the Power Torque Tycos. Some of the old Bachmanns, too, are pretty bad in terms of reliability. But other than that, there's not much I can think of. Where I am in California, there tend to be very few train shows. I've been lucky to know a few modelers connected to the family and friends. Yeah, and that's just it. Like, once you're in on the loop of model railroading, like, once you're part of a train club or know guys at a train store who can be like, hey, there's a train show happening, you know, you know about this stuff, but there's a lot of them, like the OVA or flea market, which has incredible deals. That's usually barely advertised in the area. And it's too bad, because that really would be a great place for a beginner to, you know, buy equipment cheap. Like, I've bought DCC equipped steam locomotives in working order for $10 a piece at the OVR flea market. If you're somebody who only shops on eBay, that would be unthinkable. What do you think of Bachmann N-scale locomotives? I don't think that they're that different from their HO range, but one thing I will say is that a lot of people who buy Bachmann engines in N-scale seem to prefer them. I don't know. I find most of the time when somebody's saying something negative about Bachmann, it's about their HO range. I will say that their older N-scale locomotives were definitely higher quality than modern HO. I can't really speak for where they'd be at today. Are they doing the OVA or flea market this year? I think they are. If you can get a Proto 2000 locomotive for $50, you've got a good deal. That's about the cheapest good locomotive I've ever seen. Yeah, a Proto engine or a well put together Athearn blue box even with DCC. But yeah, at the OVA or flea market, I've picked up like Bachmann Spectrum and stuff like that for $10 a piece with DCC. Just insane deals. Don't hate on my Tychos. I can make them run like lightning. I'm a Tycho junkie. Hey, I mean, I believe the same thing. All I'm saying is that for a beginner out there, I wouldn't recommend Tycho from a reliability standpoint. But don't get me wrong, I love the old Tychos despite their quirks. I mean, to give Tycho credit too, like, I don't think these engines were supposed to run for 50 years. So the fact that these engines, which were, I think, to some extent supposed to be kind of throwaway locomotives, the fact that a lot of them, with a bit of maintenance, are still operating, you know, it's kind of impressive. Not for a beginner. Yeah, exactly. Is Tycho even still around? I don't think Tycho has been around since the 90s, but there's still a ton of it on the market. So I don't know. I'd feel bad if I saw like a kid buying a Tycho train set at a train show. I don't know if it would work great or not. Again, you can make it work great if you have experience in the hobby and you know how to clean the tracks and get the contacts to work properly and everything. You can make this stuff function, but yeah. Any Bachmann with a pancake motor is garbage. The steam engines definitely were. The diesels, you know, they're not great. They often have cracked gears and make a click, 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 click sound, but it's pretty rare I don't see those start. What happened to your animal farm? I missed it on the layout. Oh, I plan to add that back on. I just need to put the standards back in place, get the fence all put back together, put the horses back, all the rest of it. I'm not done with that. They need a lot of cleaning and maintenance. Yeah, for sure. But do I blame them? No. If I were forced to run the same stupid tracks for 20 years and never took a wash, I'd probably be a bit irritable too. Yeah, that's fair. The President's Choice starter sets from Loblaws are pretty nice. The Mahano steamers with steel or nickel-silver track and pretty nice transformers. If you can find one of the old Mahano train sets, I highly recommend them, yeah. The Mahano steam engines, they don't have very much in terms of pulling capacity. They're kind of gutless, but they're decent in terms of detail, and they might be the greatest steam engines I've ever had in terms of reliability. I've had a Mahano steam engine since 2007, and as a kid, I was never easy on equipment. I definitely dropped that thing several times, and it never let me down. Like, I put that engine through its paces, and it's still dishing it out. So, yeah, for the money, they were really well made. I would trust it any day over a brand new Bachmann, that's for sure. It's too bad Mahano isn't making those steam engines anymore. You know about Crafty Fox, right? Yeah, I've seen some Crafty Fox stuff. Any updates on the house? Nothing too crazy. I got my electric heater installed, so that's good. The wood stove's been dishing it out and heating up the place. Mostly just cleaning, honestly. Also had the staircase all repainted here. I don't know how well you can see that because the light got removed when we were painting it, but yeah. Things are healing. From my personal experience, Atlas HO engines are incredibly reliable, especially after cleaning and grease and oil. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I have some older Atlas engines even, like from the 80s, and they're great. I wish Loblaws would release trains again. I wonder why they stopped. I found out why. It turns out there was a guy who was an executive at President's Choice, and he was a train buff. He was into model railroading, and so he really pushed Loblaws into actually finding a real HO scale manufacturer to make model trains for Christmas, rather than just, you know, buying some generic model train that a lot of grocery stores sell. And so for the entire time he was at the company, he kept, you know, kind of pushing to keep those around. And then when he left Loblaws, that was the end of it. I've reached out to him on LinkedIn, and I've tried to see if he'd do an interview on the channel, because I think that that's a pretty cool story, that there was a model railroader who made a grocery store chain sell model trains for a while. But I haven't heard anything back, so I don't know if we're going to hear anything. But that's apparently what happened. Because the President's Choice train sets, the controllers were okay, the track was steel, it wasn't great, the rolling stock was kind of junk, but those engines, were they ever nice for the money? Do you have any President's Choice Loblaws trains? I don't have any of the rolling stock, but I have the 210-2s out of the set. I bought a number 6060 out of the set. I gave that away, but I have my original one, which is the exact same unit. And I have a couple other Camelbacks, which are also pretty nice. It was cool that he often decided to request oddball prototypes from Mahano too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, really unique stuff. I still remember as a kid going to Loblaws and seeing those train sets and just being in awe that they had model railroad stuff at Loblaws. It wasn't a crazy amount of stuff too, but they had some building kits and stuff as well. Like you could, it wasn't just the train sets. You could actually buy some expansion stuff. I've DCC'd a few Mahanos, not difficult. I'm not surprised. A few of the guys at the train club have done that. I haven't done it myself, but I imagine since it's a mostly plastic body, it'd be pretty straightforward. The very last President's Choice train set they had came with nickel silver track. So if they kept making them... I wasn't aware of that. I always thought they only used steel track. That's quite impressive. I just opened up a Cox engine. It works just like Athearn. Yeah, those were decent too. I prefer Athearns just because they were all-wheel drive, but they weren't bad. There were two types of building kits and some extra track and switches available for purchase. I think the idea was that, I don't know, if you bought this train sets in like year after year, you could just keep kind of expanding it. Because I know some people who are really into like the Christmas villages, and I think they were trying to kind of tap into that market. It would be interesting if a HO scale manufacturer came out of like with their own line of Christmas buildings and a Christmas train and tried to, I don't know, tap into that market. Because I will say there's a lot of people, like when they see this layout for the first time, like friends and family who are not into model railroading, I've heard that a lot. We don't know anything about model trains, but we do have this train that we run around our Christmas tree, and we have all these buildings and stuff. Like, I feel like that's a huge part of the market that the model railroad manufacturers are missing out on. Do you know anything about the Collector's Insider Express? Well, that's what I'm talking about, the old President's Choice sets. The Big 10 was the last one. It came with nickel, silver tracked. Really impressed. I see them at train shows all over the time. Yeah. A Code 83 turnout is $80 at Credit Valley Hobby, which is why I say I don't buy new. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money for one switch. Nickel silver track is about to get more expensive because the price of silver is going through the roof. I have no doubt. I think the price of silver is going to skyrocket. I don't even think we've seen the last of that. I guess everyone, including myself, is going to have to go back to brass track, but I don't even know. I feel like brass track, the price of brass is probably going to go up too, so maybe steel track's the option. I'd love to see Maynard's over here. We have Michael's. They've failed to expand their product offering. Yeah, I completely agree. I've seen some of the Maynard sets. I've never been to a Maynard's in person, but yeah, Michael's. I don't even know if Michael's exists that much in the States, but in Canada, they're kind of like a really mediocre Hobby Lobby. Nickel silver track isn't made with actual silver. If I recall, it's zinc. I couldn't say. I don't know. Hopefully somebody out there who knows more about metal can figure that out. They're going to put most of the silver production into EV batteries. They're going to put silver into EV batteries. They're going to put it into computer chips for AI. They're going to put it into computer chips for cryptocurrency. And then if that doesn't fail, it's going to be used as a reserve if the economy fails, because people are going to be scared and they're going to buy it up to protect themselves from inflation. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to see silver go pretty high. Maynard's is pronounced Menyards. Okay, my bad. Is that a Scale Train's DC engine? Yeah, it sure is. What should I do with my week-old brand new Bachmann Berkshire with a severe driver wobble? I would contact Bachmann. If it's brand new, I'd imagine you paid good money for it. Sounds to me like there's a significant issue. Usually, I'm all for like digging into fixing stuff yourself, but if you've paid good money for something, the $30 shipping fee to send it to Bachmann might be worth it. Nickel silver track is made from copper, nickel, zinc. I just had to look it up. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that either. I don't know why it's called nickel silver in that case. The only thing I can figure is that kind of looks like silver. Hopefully there isn't any silver content, because yeah, if there is actual silver in this track, that would probably be pretty bad. I'm trying to find the Bachmann Jupiter engine. Anybody know if it runs well? The older ones don't. I have one of the newer ones. Well, it's not a Jupiter, but it's an American engine. It runs okay, but I wouldn't buy an old one. I think the type of metal is just called nickel silver. Huh. I was trying to ask what you think of Kato and Atlas engines. I think they're great, even though they are simple compared to others, like modern Kato. Still great to start with. Yeah, the old Kato Atlas engines, which for a while were the same brand, are very good. They're not very well detailed, but incredibly reliable, good pullers. I have nothing against them. No way they would use actual silver on model railroad. Well, I wouldn't expect it to be pure silver, but I would have thought there'd be at least a little bit of silver content. You still live in Canada? Yeah, I do. Copper and nickel are a byproduct of silver mining, and that's how silver mining profits from production. I'm deciding on whether to invest into a DCS-52 or the older DCS-50 do you have any experience with the DCS-52? Which would you recommend? Get the DCS-52. This is not a DCS-50. I've never worked with a DCS-50. This is a DCS-51, not to nitpick, but my friend has a DCS-52. It's a much better controller. I worked with it when I was building his layout a while back, and it's better for programming. It's better for, if you have a short circuit, it automatically resets. It communicates. There's an actual screen which communicates information on like what the issue is. So I would definitely get a 52. This is a good controller, but it's outdated technology. I've honestly thought about upgrading this to a 52 after working with my friend's unit there. No silver and nickel silver. Well, that's good news. I just think, too, I don't know, if you're going to be buying a DCC controller, may as well buy something modern, and then you just don't have to worry about it for 15 years. I see the Go train on the desk. Did you already run it? Yeah, I was running the F unit and the F40. Can you run a GG1? Yeah, for sure. See if this thing will party. What do you think of putting 1865 in train cars and driving the locomotives with a DC voltage boost converter? I wish I knew what that meant. You mean like throwing a battery in an engine and powering it that way? Just wondering if you still do fan mail, just wondering. I'm not trying to give a roundabout answer, but kind of yes and no. Currently, I've closed the P.O. box just because I've been so busy setting up the house and everything else. I just don't know what I'm going to open those boxes, and I just don't want to be leaving people on the line if they've sent something in for a really long time. It doesn't mean I'm, like, necessarily done with fan mail unboxings or anything like that. You know, it means the world to me and everything, but I just don't want to be leaving people on the line for a long time with that stuff. So currently it's closed, but doesn't mean for good. This thing is running nicely. Be right back. Just got to throw a couple logs on the wood stove. GG ones are so bizarre, changed my mind. They are a lot like kind of weird looking engines, but I really like them. They're very classic. It's too bad there's no working ones today. I'm morbidly curious if the subway train would make it around the trolley line without derailing. The cars look like they were far enough apart. The couplers might not handle it. Yeah, you'd be right about the couplers. I actually already tried that, and unfortunately it didn't work. Do you still have any AC 4400s? Yeah, I sure do. Do you still have the Rail Chief 3001 at your new house? I don't have it here yet, but I intend to bring it over at some point. Okay, fire on the wood stove. Try to keep the house above 70. I meant hiding batteries inside the train cars and boosting the voltage to power the locomotive. You could definitely do it. Like, a model train does not use a crazy amount of current. I'm sure a basic lithium battery, even a small one, would probably be able to power an HO engine for quite a long time. I think the hobby could go that way, but right now it's not very common. How cold is it in Canada? It's minus 21 right now in Celsius. I don't know what that would be in Fahrenheit. Probably just below 0, maybe minus 3 Fahrenheit. Very cold in Canada. It's winter. Yeah, it's been a cold winter too. A lot of snow, a lot of freezing. But what can you say? Cold country. I'm gonna go throw another log on the fire, actually. That should help. The temperature in South Africa today is 19 degrees and 36 degrees later. In Celsius or Fahrenheit, minus 5.8 in Fahrenheit. And that's not even the coldest it's been. The other day with the wind chill, it was minus 30 Celsius. I don't know what that would be in Fahrenheit, probably minus 10 or so. Just really cold. I was out snowmobiling on New Year's and just to get the sleds to start. Oh my goodness. Even gasoline doesn't want to light off at certain temperatures. Minus 21 is about minus 6. Do you have any tips for making the track run smoothly? I only have a Bachmann starter set controller. Try to make sure the connections are good. So if your train is stopping in a certain section of track, see if you can crimp the rail joiners with some needle nose pliers. Try to make those better. Another thing you can do is clean your track. So you can take a Scotch-Brite. Now, never use steel wool, nothing metal, but the green Scotch-Brites, you can use those and polish up your rails, vacuum them, and see if that helps. Sometimes it will polish up your rails. You ever cold start your Oldsmobile when it's super cold? I tried to start it the other day and the battery was completely flat, so I haven't so far. I probably will crank it over once I get the battery boosted just to circulate the oil, but I don't know if it would light off at these temperatures, honestly. Like, it struggles to start even in the summertime when it's pretty hot outside, so I don't think it's gonna like these temperatures. Clean the wheels on the engine, yeah, for sure. I despise fish track joiners, but they are necessary. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a way around them, unfortunately. So the stray cat that has been hanging around my house is looking like a Maine Coon. He comes and eats and leaves. He lives in a box on the porch. Yeah, it's just how cats come into your life. Like, you know, most people who adopt a dog, you know, they go through a whole process and everything. I find most people who adopt a cat, it's just like, oh, he showed up. That's how most of the cats in my life have turned up. They just kind of move in. I don't want to make everybody sad about Nerf Cat, but I found out some more of his history because my dad ran into our neighbor who originally got him. And I guess the daughter really wanted to get a cat, and she convinced her teacher to start a whole school presentation on adopting animals, and then encouraged the entire class to adopt a pet. And it put enough pressure on her parents that they went to the SPCA and went to adopt a cat. And Nerf Cat was selected because he had all 4 paws on the wall of the door. And they were like, I guess this one wants to leave here pretty bad. So they took him home. And then the daughter lost interest in him. And I guess he just kind of moved in to my parents' place after that. So I don't know, just kind of funny history. He was always a brave one, that's for sure. It's so damn cold outside that the Honda Quad won't start without choke. Well, I haven't seen too many small engines myself that will start without a choke even in the summer, although I also live in Canada where it doesn't get that hot. The cat distribution system at its work. Does the locomotive that long exist in real life? I don't think so. I think the closest thing would probably be the Centennial. It's a rolling Subway sandwich. Can you run a Walther's mainline GP15? I guess since you threw in the super chat. Sure. You have a DD40? Yeah, I sure do. Do you have any BNSF trains? Yeah. I'm quite impressed to see that the Walther's GP15 can handle what is probably less than 15 radius curves. I really would not expect that from a stock locomotive. A lot of the engines that I run on the inside curve have been modified, so yeah, I mean, I guess that works. Good job, Walthers. Anyway, I think I'll finish off the live stream. Thank you so much for joining in this evening. I really appreciate everybody for chatting and all the questions and suggestions and answers. It's all a lot of fun as usual. I hope you all had fun too. I'll read a few last comments just before I sign off here. It's what happens when a young guy has too many extra parts around. Yeah, that's right. A lot of cheap engines laying around that you're about to throw in the garbage because they've been broken in shipping. You just glue them all together and make a special locomotive. Good night, sir. Thanks for a great stream. Any tips for ballasting Cato Unitrack? I've never done it myself. I imagine you could probably just put some Elmer's glue over top and sprinkle it on. I did that with Easy Track once and it worked well, but I don't know. There's probably a video out there on how to do that a little bit better than whatever I'm describing. Anyways, I'll read this last one. Is there a long Swedish three-piece locomotive called a DM3 extra long that you have in a Virginian paint scheme? Yes. It's supposed to be some sort of a box cab locomotive, and somebody repainted it to be the Virginian Railway. In reality, it's some sort of Swedish engine. These are actually worth a lot of money. They're made by Trix. They have DCC and sound. Whoever did this was pretty brave to do so, but I got it at a real discount as a result, so I'm certainly not going to complain. Anyways, have a wonderful night, everyone.